All right, just getting ready to go live on the show here, but just wanted to make sure because yesterday I did the whole show and then realized or found out afterwards that it wasn't even on. It wasn't even on D Live, and now I know. I made the check and we're on D Live, so now we're ready to go. Ready to go to it here, folks. This is the warm up. I get warmed up and ready here about 3 or 4 minutes, and the show's about ready to begin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Velvet Moon. Frogs are alive, Velvet Moon. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen, right there. This is the show that is about ready to begin. This is Freako Talks the News. This is a little pre-show thing, and sometimes I have a lot of things to say in the pre-show, and sometimes I have nothing to say in the pre-show. And today, I am not going to say. Well, let's just see what happens. But I don't think I'm going to say much. I've lost a couple more friends in Coronavilles yesterday. Not. I mean, they're done with me for whatever reason. I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people. We're just, and I'm not saying it's their fault. It's probably, maybe it's more of my fault. I don't know, but whatever, it is what it is. It's difficult to not follow and this I'm not. This is true of all of us right now. Well, just about all of us right now. It's difficult to follow cool-headedness and rationality and a bit of a disconnect that you need to try to figure out what's really going on. It's kind of difficult to do that for a lot of us. It was always difficult for me to do that, but of course during Coronavirus, everything is, whatever your worst traits are, you're probably going to get worse at it. But I guess what I want to just briefly talk about is today is a new day for Frico. Every day is a new day, really. But today is a new day, like I'm intentionally taking hold of a new day. And the new day is I am, I guess, I am going to put myself in the observer's position when I'm dealing with the world around me as much as I possibly can, and to try not to remember that I'm an active participant who is real and or imagined potentially suffering consequences based on other people's thoughts, decisions, and actions and how they influence the universe. And I have made this pledge many times before. And I go through periods of time where I've actually had some significant times. I've gone maybe 3-4 months where I'm feeling like, well, I finally conquered it, man. Something happens and then right back into it. So I'm sure a lot of you can relate to what I'm talking about. So I failed so many times to try to kick the habit, and the habit really is it's addiction. It's an addiction to expression, an expression of destruction, basically. You just want to destroy the world. And all of us, to a certain degree, at various times we want to destroy the world. And there's a lot more destroy the world feelings there, but you can't be governed by wanting to be destroyed by the world, even if you have those feelings at times. I don't mean literally. I mean in a small scale. Just being able to yell rude things at someone is destroying the world. It's kind of that's what I'm talking about. Just taking out your vent on them, or treating them in ways that you yourself wouldn't like to be treated. Like if you don't want people to immediately assume the worst about you because of something that you said, then you shouldn't do it to them. But of course I do that. And I tell you where I do it the most, and I tell you where most of us do it the most, and that's on social media. And I've covered a couple stories in the past about how social media is it's fueling a feedback system that is very damaging. And I have tried multiple times to try to use social media in a responsible way. And again, this stuff just pulls you into its vortex. You just can't have a human conversation with people on social media. Well, I can't. I've tried. And I've had various successes and various failures. But on the main, I would say it's an ultimate failure. So here I am again. And even though I have failed many, many, many times, and maybe I'll fail again, I am going to conquer this. I am going to get rid of this. I'm not going to comment on social media. The only social medias that I'll be using are what I do for Frico. So DLive, there's Facebook pages. I have 2 Facebook pages. One, I have an issue with it. It's Freako Talks the News, and the other one is just Freako Talks. And I'm only going to do social media on those. I'm done. I'm done commenting and trying to engaging human beings in any way, shape, or form on social media outside of those parameters. This doesn't mean that 2 months from now I might reopen up a Facebook account and start commenting again. God willing, I won't, because it is an addiction and it's a powerful draw. Even though it's done far more damage to my life than good. So yeah, I have decided that I am done, and the reason I'm done is I'm not saying that social media can't be great for you guys, for whoever else wants to use it. There's a lot of advantages to social media. I'm not poo-pooing the tool in and of itself, just so you know. But I think for me, with where my head is at, I think I've realized that. Well, I've realized it before, but I've come back, and maybe this time is enough that I say. So I'm getting on my little horsey horse because I fell, and I don't know how long I'll fall. And the reason that I have hope that I might succeed this time isn't because of a pattern necessarily this time, just a pattern in my life. I have experienced changes in my life where I have tried numerous times to alter my actions in some way. Like I have a certain heuristic institutional tendencies, and then there's self-aware tendencies, and the heuristic institutional don't match with the self-aware, I've made a lot of effort to seek to change those heuristic institutions within me that will produce the instinctive patterns that I want to experience in my life. And I've had success. I've had things that I've conquered when I was 15. I've had things that I've conquered when I was 20. I have things that and I'm talking about things that I've had problems with early on. I've had issues in my life. It's a silly thing, but toothbrushing. For a variety of reasons, I didn't grow up with a habit of toothbrushing, and it was very difficult to develop it. So when I brush my teeth, most of the time it would be like maybe 3-4 times a week. I'd always miss, consistently miss. And sometimes I might go a month without brushing my teeth. And that, even though I knew it was difficult, it was really difficult for me to overcome that. And I spent 40 some years working on it. And now I'm to the point where brushing teeth is now not the labor that it was. It's just an automatic thing. You wake up, you brush your teeth. Go to sleep, you brush your teeth. It's not even a thought anymore. But it took 40 plus years to finally get that, to train myself. I had to train myself. And so that's what I have to do. And I give you this just to maybe give some encouragement to folks who right now, I know that a lot of us have a lot of bad traits, whatever it might be, whatever your bad traits are, especially traits that lead you to anger. And right now, Coronaville is accenting that for everyone. Don't, if you've had the same bad behaviors 59, whatever years, you can still change them. You can still have victories over these things. Don't ever stop trying to have your internals match your externals. That's essentially what it's about. For me, not necessarily for life or for everyone else, but for me, that's a real significant goal. It's a goal I know I'll never achieve. I'll never get full, perfect harmony of. If you have harmony with your internal habits and your external desires, your external self-aware, not your desires, your self-aware preferences for how you would like to live your life, what kind of person you want to be thought of, how you want to reflect the world, how you want to interact with the world, then that means that you to take full stewardship of your life, that you are not just being ridden along by the heuristic institutions. The heuristic institutions, those are those patterns of behavior, thought, belief that don't, it's just a reflexive thing. You just don't even think about it. It's just reflexive. This is when you do terrible things, and afterwards, I don't even know why I did that. You have heuristic institutions in you. And the thing about heuristic institutions is this is where people who who are willing to use coercive means, deception, fraud, lying, whatever it might be, anything to force or a captive audience that's run through a certain pattern of behaviors and activities that build these heuristic institutions, like the school system, and how that builds this very authoritarian, almost, it's a prison complex mindset that it offers, and it creates in children the expectation that human beings should be able to pen them in and micromanage their lives. It prepares them to accept that from the state after they go on. And they don't even think about it. It's just a natural part of who they are. But they never made the choice to put it in them. They never made that conscious choice that their heuristic self should reflect this knee-jerk, unthinking response to authority. The acceptance of a broad swath of authority decisions over your life, made seemingly arbitrarily, and one would argue, not really in your best interest. You never had a chance right from the start. So you can conquer your heuristic institutions. You'll never conquer them all because there's too much stuff in there. There's just too much stuff, too much things that you didn't put there too. Some of the stuff is put in there by a genetic code. Some of it's put in there later because the genetic code got damaged. Some of it's put in there because, well, as part of the genetic code, you got some chemical constructs and misconstructs, and there may be a physical limitation to part of your nerve system that's fundamentally altering the way that your body communicates with you. There's a lot of reasons why you have these heuristic institutions within you that cause you to act reflexively in ways that don't line up with your intentional self. So you'll never get it all, but you can conquer way more than you think if you keep at it. And who knows, maybe this is the last turn. I've had that last turns already. I've tried to fail. I tried to quit smoking cigarettes. That one only took me 10 years. 10 years where I was right. I did all the things. I during the course of the 10 years, I think I tried to quit maybe 30 times. And then the last one was finally the last one. And this might be the last one. I might finally be able to put myself in a position where I can be the observer at times when that is absolutely in my best interest. If I could take an observer mode in a situation, I could see more clearly. I can not be led by my emotions to add to whatever tension's already there. That's my hope. So we'll find out, I guess. I guess that wasn't too long of an introduction, I guess. Only 18 minutes. Hey, man. Hey, that's short. All right, let's get to the show then. And this is the preparation for all you know who you are, all you who need. This is for you.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is foreign. The minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, gospel, or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out. That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to talk the news without freaking out. Because you know why? Because I'm that kind of guy. I do it for you, the people. Well, today's show is called The Advantage of Surplus versus Dearth in the Scales of Coronaville. This is for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. Some of the stories that we're going to hear today: small business loans raided by the bigs, Coronaville's double-edged sword, suicide? Wait. Yes, I read that right. Hemp-Powered home in sync with the sun, thanks to Morocco. Amazon Employee of the Month. That's going to be our news poem. South China Seas heat up with U.S. amphibians. The power advantage of landlord sex. That's right, you heard me right. I said the power advantage of landlords. The power advantage of Landlord Sex. Now, real quick, just to walk you through here, where do we get our stories from? We get our stories from me. Well, I aggregate stories. We get our stories from the whole interwebs, and I scan the whole interwebs, and I go through roughly 1,200, 1,500 links, and on 3 different sites. That's 1,200, 1,500 total, not 1,200 on each site. On Newsalite, we got the glitz, the odd, the under the radar, the hard to believe news at a glance. I picked 10 stories from that to head on over to Frico. And then Obamacare.tv. This is the free market social engineering for the masses. This is where I track the money, the billionaires and the billionaire corporations, which are really kind of, many of them, they're states in and of themselves, really. They should be thought of as states. So I track a lot of that stuff right there. And I did the 10 stories that I think I might want to talk about on Frico. I send them on over to Frico. And then the Pioneering News. This is tech, science, underground news links. And I like this site the best. If I could do anything in life, I like the mix that I have. I am making the show that I want. This is my favorite parts. My favorite parts are the tech, the science, really the tech and the science, even though I'm no tech science person, so sometimes it's hard for me to even understand these stories, but I try my best. But I think I get at least the core out, so even if I might not understand how it works, at least you know that it happened, it exists, and then you can find out more yourself. And then I send 12 stories. That's right. This doesn't get 10. It's got 12 stories. Send them on over to Frico Talks the News, Frico.com, where I'm not freaking out about the news, but you, the people. You, the people. And I do that because I love you. Of course I do. Of course I do. Of course I love you. You know that. And then I picked the 12 stories that I want to put together to sing the song of the day. And the song of the day, as I said earlier, the title, the song of the day, the name of the song today, the news song, if you will, is The Advantage of Surplus versus Death in the Scale of Coronavilles. Let's get ready to record our first segment. That's going to be our talk headlines. And if you're new to the show, what we do is I do the live stream, and during the live stream, I record the segments that I'm going to end up putting on the Action Bots YouTube channel. So this is recording the first segment. Talk headlines, here we go. This is Talk Headlines for Frico Talks the News on, I believe it's Thursday, April 20th. No, what is it? Yes, it's Wednesday. Sorry. Get a little ahead of myself. Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. I am Frico for Frico.com. Our top headline, small business loans raided by the bigs. And this is an excerpt from the News Pocket. Companies with revenue over $100 million are tapping small business loan relief funds. Let me hold on one second here. Just make all right. We're good. I thought you won't know what I'm talking about. I thought I had something going on there that fortunately I do not. That would have been really bad if what I thought was I thought I was missing some stories, but I'm not. More than a dozen publicly traded companies with revenue of more than $100 million, including Shake Shack Inc. I believe Shake Shack gave their money back. Shake Shack was like, oh, man, we're going to get that back. I think so. Potbelly Corp and Tex-Mex restaurant chains with more than 10,000 employees received loans through a massive relief program aimed at small businesses. With a $349 billion, with $349, yes, that's right. A little bit more than that. Lending package for small business owners now exhausted. A review of regulatory filings shows that restaurant chains and companies in industries ranging from mining to manufacturing to cruise travel received large amounts, while much smaller businesses like neighborhood eateries and hair salons were locked out. It's just so weird. Imagine if you're a kid growing up today and you see this kind of bullcrapperies. You see this magic money being floated all over the place. At some level, the kid has to kind of, even if they don't know, even if you told them and they were acting incredulous, at some heuristic institutional level, they have to know just what a sham this is. What kind of patterns are we setting in kids with our behaviors, and how openly willing we are to to display deception, to lie, to... This is basically Santa Claus money. Well, we do lie to kids about that. That's a good pattern we set, too. That's another. I could go on a rant about that. Santa Claus. Why it's horrible that we do that. I'm not... By the way, if you do this with your kids, I mean... I have my feelings. I have very strong feelings, but I don't have any animosity towards any of you that have chosen to do this, nor if you choose to do this going forward. This is only my opinions, remember. But in my opinion, it's terrible, it's horrible, it's traumatic that what we do to the kids, that they learn early on that there's this magical dude in the North Pole that's watching them all the time and taking a measure of their lives. And if they're good, they get toys. And if they're bad, they get coal. And then you really believe it. You're locked in, man. You're a kid. What do you know? You just believe people because you got no understanding that you shouldn't. They fill you with constructs such as this before you really have a understanding. And when I say no matter what you do, you're going to fill your kid with constructs, but you're filling your kid with constructs of deception. You're helping create authoritarians and authoritarian enablers. You're giving people permission to be deceptive, to use deception as a means to control the actions of others, because that's what you're doing. And then on top of that, you add the elf on the shelf to it. That's a whole other rank going up. That's a whole other rank. And again, if you do this and you do elf on the shelf, I'm not attacking you. I feel very strongly about what you do, but again, it's just my opinion. But I implore you to consider the words that I'm saying. And if you do, if you really, really think about what you do to kids, I think that you'll probably be grieving. And you'll be, and you know what? You're forgiven. You're already forgiven even before you ask to be forgiven. In this case, because you were filled with the same. We're all just, we're like, as they say, the chain of abuse, chain of violence, the patterns that repeat with some families for various reasons. They don't escape the patterns. They pass on the patterns generationally. So you have abuse, generation upon generation upon generation. That's what this kind of stuff is to me. This is abuse being passed on generation. And I don't blame the people that are being abused and then abusing others in return, because they believe, you believe and you have no reason not to. Well, I think you do, but no reason that's been given to you by this world necessarily. No reason not to believe that what you're doing it should be well within the bounds of what decent, normal human beings do. It's just a custom. Oh, it's just the way things are. It's just the way we do things here. Whatever it might be. So when I see this, I think about things like that sometimes. Like, what are the kids thinking when they see this garbage? Whatever you think of the Donald. And I understand if you're conservative, there's a lot of things you got to like about Donald. He's pretty. He's a Democrat essentially, but he's delivered to the conservatives far more than really since Reagan. So he's delivered for the conservatives. But the conservatives, even if he's delivered for you, even if he's the right guy to oppose the threat that the Democrat Party might be to you, and they are a threat to you, they're not good neighbors. But you haven't been good neighbors to them either, so they just want to give you what you've been giving them for years, for decades. So I can't blame them for wanting to do what they're doing. Now, I don't want it to happen because I would be a target for them too. I would not do well if the Democrats were consolidating power. I wouldn't do well if either one of you consolidates power, truthfully. The people that I lost yesterday, the friends that I lost, one was on the left and one was on the right. So the people on the left and the people on the right are both finding lots of reasons to hate the things that I say. So this is going to be a fun show. But having the kids listen to Donnie Boy and the way that he talks, even the way that he deals with the press They're not the press, okay? They're not the free press. They are an agitprop organization that is in large part of the DNC machine. The DNC, I think I've said in many shows, the DNC is the public clearinghouse for the certain set of billionaires that are using their American assets and power to make money overseas. Way more money overseas that they can make than in America, so they're selling off American power and assets and secrets and information and all that stuff. Jobs, all that. They're selling them all overseas because they're making the money. And the DNC is a clearinghouse for that. And yet still, despite me looking at the press, the quote-unquote press in that way, even agreeing in principle with what Trump says to the press when he calls them out, this is my bloodlust part of me. I'm like, yeah, you go. And then he'll say something right after that. And I'm like, oh gosh, this guy's nuts. But even though I can be appeased by that because of my addiction to anger, I guess you could say. I know as I'm doing it, I feel guilty because I know I know all the eyes are on, including the kids. They're absolutely watching Donnie. And Donnie is the president of the United States, and he lies, he's vicious, he's classless, he's a man of deception. Every president is, by the way. He's not exclusive. They're all that way. And he does it in such a brutal way that many people love. I actually, as an anarchist, I love it. Because I love when the government talks like what it really is. And that's what Donald does. Donald talks like what the government really is. The government is that. And I'm not saying necessarily all government has to be that way, although it is true. All government has to be that way. But maybe not. Maybe not. I don't want to burst your government dream bubbles because most of my potential audience, you guys like government. So, but me personally, I think you're always going to end up with Donald and Barack and Bill and the Georges and the Ronalds and all those people. They're all the same at their core. They all assume that they have some ungodly, inhuman right to murder people so that they can enrich their own power and lives. And that's all that presidents ever do. Politicians are only politicians to serve themselves. Don't tell me that Donald Trump he doesn't take a salary. Listen, Donald Trump doesn't need money. He needs that apex existential. He needs to be seen as the savior of American power. That's what he wants to be perceived as. That's his goal. He'd trade his whole empire if he could guarantee that that's how the whole world would perceive him for the rest of time. And I tell you this, he wouldn't even care if it was true. He only wants this. The perception would be enough for him. That's the core of Donald Trump. And that's the core of just about every other president as well. It's just that Donald wasn't trained in the political way to speak violently to others. So he just openly speaks violently to others. He just wasn't trained. So this whole crap show, I don't even know what to make of it. There's nothing that remember what happens when you pass bills, regulations come, lawsuits come, all kinds of things. And who's cooking this soup? The people that are cooking this soup are the billionaires. There ain't no pores in this conversation. No pores is involved in the making of this film. These billionaires, the Citadelians, not all billionaires are Citadelians, by the way, and not all Citadelians are billionaires, but overwhelmingly, most billionaires are Citadelians, and most Citadelians are billionaires. A Citadelian is somebody who can walk with relative impunity in a land with little fear that the force of the land will come against them, whether it's from government or non-government. That's a Citadelian. That is a Citadelian. And you don't have to be a billionaire to have that, and not all billionaires have that status. But That's what we're talking about. These are the folks that are using these hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, massive packages that they're passing in days. Massive amounts of made-up wealth that they will use to attempt to build institutions that will protect them for the next 10 to 20 years against the technological reality of the day. That's what's going on right now, just so you know. That's what's going on with all of this. Here's an excerpt from Reuters. I call this Oil Goes Bust and Then Some. Their title, Oil Price Crashes into Negative Territory for the First Time in History Amid Pandemic. U.S. crude oil futures collapsed below $0 Monday for the first time in history amid a coronavirus-induced supply glut, ending the day at a stunning minus $37.63 a barrel as desperate traders paid to get rid of oil. Brent crude, the international benchmark, also slumped, but that contract was nowhere near as weak because more storage is available worldwide. While U.S. prices are trading in negative territory for the first time ever, it is unclear whether that will trickle down to consumers, who typically see lower oil prices translate into cheaper gasoline at the pump. As billions of people around the globe stay home to slow the spread of the novel coronavirus, physical demand for crude has dried up, creating a global supply glut. And I may have a follow-up to this story on tomorrow's show. The way that I do the stories, by the way, I do the stories. I'm changing things up a little bit. I'm trying to get a schedule of being able to produce things that works best for me. So I'm trying a new thing. And so today's experience was very, very positive. This is the first time in which I literally prepared about maybe 3/4 of the show for tomorrow already before this show. And then I had the big things that I write, the features, the dialecticals, and the news poems. I got that saved for later in the day. Also, if you go to these sites every day, check the links, the newsalite.com, pioneernews.com, and obamacare.tv, and they get updated all the time. And the raw and the wire links get updated throughout the day. So whenever you can keep going back to those sites, you'll find new content going up, new links going up every day. So this story, I have another story that I'm working on that I actually wrote already. And I didn't write this one. This is just, I think this it might be a brief, I think, maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, I got an interesting follow-up to this story tomorrow in tomorrow's show. The Mouse Cuts the Fam. Excerpt from WSTP. Walt Disney Company furloughs 100,000, saving 500 million. Listen to how you word that. Listen. What is that? Walt Disney Company furloughs 100,000 saving. That's your title. That tells me a lot about where your focus is. 100,000 people. 100,000 people. They just let off 100,000 people. I could go on too long of a rant on this. I say that a lot, I guess. Please let me keep this short. I'll do my best. This is a significant imbalance of power between those that have and those that have to rely on those that have. The ones with the jobs, so to speak. You have an environment in which it's clear that hardly any of our companies have had any real buffer savings built up. Any plans whatsoever to deal with what to do if they face, I won't say that they would be planning for a Coronaville, but some sort of, whether it's a downturn or whatever, some contingency plans to help float their people. You figure they could survive 2-3 months, maybe something like that. You have some, these companies never make an effort to do that. And the reason they don't make an effort to do that is because all these people are replaceable. They've created replaceables. And that's the problem with our system, is that we've created these replaceables that have emerged from this significant imbalance of power. The imbalance of power is not necessarily that you have a business owner and you have an employee. The imbalance of power is when you have few business owners. When you have few business owners. Few opportunities for individuals to get the highest paying jobs. The highest paying jobs are almost always going to come from mega corporations. And there's only a finite number of slots, and you got to play their game their way. You don't have a lot of power to say no to these folks. So these folks have very little incentive to worry about the plight of their employees because they treat their employees like commodities, not members of a business family. We don't have business families. That's why that's why what's going on with Amazon. And I'm coming back to Amazon again. As a matter of fact, that's the news palm later. Amazon Employee of the Month. Even though the news part is actually about Kroger, but it is what it is. When I look at Amazon and I look at grocery workers, and Kroger is about grocery workers, and all these people, they're like, I don't want to do this. And my initial reaction is, why don't you want to do this? Why don't you want to go and serve your community? We need you. And then I pause and it's like, well, why are you saying that? Why? Do they have an obligation to serve you? Do they have an obligation to serve their community? Or are you now going to go down the road where you're going to tell people that they have to save people? I wouldn't want to go down that road. No one's obligated to save anyone. They're not obligated to save anyone. And why don't they feel like any kind of calling to do that? Why would they rather just stay home? It's because we didn't make this about a battle that we were all joining together as a community. We were given orders, and our companies gave us orders. Go to work or lose your job. They offered some protections, but what protections did they offer? If you have it, or if a family member's sick, whatever. So they have some protections. But what about, I don't want to risk my life protections? None. No, not even a thought or a concern. Why? Because we are commodity. We're just a commodity. They treat capital like family. They treat humans like commodities. Should be the other way around. The capital should be the commodity. The humans should be the family. But it's not that way. And that's why companies are doing this. And it's the mindset. It starts in school. It starts with that acceptance of being limited in choice, being limited in the power to say no, and understanding this is just the way we do it. Pledge of Allegiance. You shouldn't be telling... To me, the Pledge of Allegiance is child abuse. I know if you like the Pledge of Allegiance, I probably just ticked you off. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. And again, the people that are doing Pledge, I'm not going after anyone. I'm not trying to vilify people. I'm not trying to say that you're evil or that you should pay for your crimes, because you don't see it that way. And if you did, you would change, because most of you, I'm sure, you're, quote, decent people. But no matter how decent we are and how much we really want to help our communities, if we don't understand the world, haven't even taken the time or even thought that we had to take the time to question a certain system that we just grew up with, and well, from what we could see, it works. Why change it? These folks aren't to blame for continuing to call the kids into these little cells, and you separate them off by their age group. So you also give them no opportunity to mentor, no opportunity to be mentored by people that are closer to their age. You give some schools are working to try to figure out how to get stuff like that done, but they don't do that. They don't want exchange. They don't want cooperation, consensual exchange amongst the children's. They want cooperative exchange. It's all we live in a cooperative universe. Well, American universe. Well, all the rest as well, I guess. But we live in a cooperative exchange. We don't live in a consensual exchange. And this kind of stuff, it kind of shows that. And that's the end of the headline segment. I think we'll end it right there. I think I kept that last segment. Believe me, I could go on. I could go on, but I didn't. So I kept it kind of short. This has been the headline segment, which is the first show on our YouTube channel, Actun Batsa, at 4 p.m. Stay tuned for the next video, whatever you want to call it, show, whatever, on the Action Bots YouTube channel. That is the talk feature, and the title for that is Coronaville's Double-Edged Sword. Suicide? You know, I have this, what you got, Mr. Poopy Pants? What was this called? Oh, Poopy Pants, or whatever his name on Rick and Morty. Hey guys, I don't know. I don't know. I love that. It's so, there's so much bathos to that. There's so much bathos. There's so much patheticisms to that. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I love it. It says so much. It's such pain and suffering and angst and yet still cheerfulness and happiness, even though it's totally fake. But part of you thinks he buys into it a little. That's what I hope to express. That's why I do the hooies all the time. Just so you know, that's what we do here. Frico Talks and News. We're going to get to the feature segment here. Let's get to it. Let's just get right to it. What the heck does that Philly D annoying guy say? No offense, Philly D. Subjectively annoying. Here's a talk feature of the day from Frico for Frico Talks the News on, on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com. I'm having a hard time crossing the dates. That's one thing that's going to be a little bit overcoming since I started to do the pre-scripting in a different way, where I actually I'm writing for the show. I'm writing for parts of the show tomorrow before I get to this show. So I'm in Thursday April 23rd mode, but it's not Thursday, April 23rd. You're just writing for April 23rd. Coronaville's double-edged sword. Suicide? A level-headed conversation about how we deal with the coronavilles that might limit the deaths, the suffering, the disruptions in human lives as a result of the action we take to battle this thing is just not going to happen in America today. And with that in mind, take this information with a level of potential skepticism, but information that I hope that you will at least allow to be considered. What is fact or fiction regarding coronavirus? Well, that'll probably be decades before we figure that out, and I'm betting that maybe not ever. Maybe it will continue to be, even if you come up with definitive research data, whatever, that shows definitively, these are the numbers, these are the effects of these decisions, blah, 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 blah. No one will ever be satisfied with that. One of the reasons why is that we live in an age of complete and utter disinformation, which is part of the reason why we can't have a level-headed conversation about the coronavirus. We live at a time where everyone has all of the access to all of the information of the world, well, relatively speaking, incredibly beyond what has ever come before it. It dwarfs it. It's incredible. It's just massive. The amount of data that we are able to gather in from around the world just from sitting in our home. It's absolutely incredible. But it's useless. One of the key reasons it's useless is because I'll go back to, in the beginning of the show, I was talking about Santa Claus, the pre-show, Santa Claus, and wishing that telling your kids that Santa Claus exists. And they don't really, that immediately starts to build within that kid certain assumptions about the world that you don't even understand. What you're building in your kid by doing the Santa Claus thing. Santa Claus is going to deliver gifts if you're a good boy or girl, or coal, whichever if you're bad, and he knows when you're naughty and nice, so he's watching you all the time. He's a man of authority from on high, with absolute knowledge of good and bad, that can guide you to a good life and reward you if you obey him. That's kind of the message. It's kind of the message. One thing if your man is God, and it's another thing if your man is man, and whatever God you might choose, by the way. Or assume you don't think you chose and God chose it. Whatever your thought. So we are the children, and the education system, government, the media, the scientists, the folks that have the resources to truth, I put that in quotes, and they have the time and resources to go through a disciplined learning process where they can disseminate accurately the truth. Those folks had decided instead of that, they were going to work on narrative. How do we use what's out there to manipulate it in a way that enables our faction to save the world from themselves? Because only our faction can do that. That's where we're at. And we've probably been there. I don't know how long, maybe always, I don't know. But to varying degrees, that's always true within any nation state. But in some nation states, they're more aggressive than others at times. We're going through a very aggressive period of time. Maybe not in isolation, but in terms of the scale alone, and also the depth of the encroachment and the destruction of actual truth. I would say that we totally crush any other age before us. You had far more the information that was available to you in the Middle Ages. You could get a sense more of what was going on around your neighborhood, your community, than in proportion to the truth. Say truth is 3 eggs. You would have access to all 3 eggs if you knew where to look. You could figure it out. You could all by yourself. You could get those 3 eggs, figure them out. But now truth is no longer 3 eggs. Like they didn't even know. Even if they knew they had 3 eggs, they knew there was 6 eggs out there. There's really not 6 eggs out there. There's 300,000 eggs, and you could get. I'll say hypothetically, you can get 100% of the eggs that you know in the Middle Ages, and you can get maybe 5% of the eggs that you know, not the eggs that the whole universe knows, the eggs that you know that are out there for you to know. The egg out there that I want to know, Coronavilles. There's no way I'm ever going to see that egg. All I'm going to see are a whole bunch of egg facsimiles from others, egg substitutes. It's an egg substitute kind of universe that we live in. No eggs. You can't get to the eggs themselves, the eggs of truth, as it were. This is a terrible metaphor. I shouldn't have committed to this because I had to run this whole egg thing out. But that's where we live, so we don't know. So that's a huge... This is a study. Studies show. This is from Education Views. I can't quite get a read on Education Views. I sometimes think they come across as sounding more like from the left, and then sometimes more like the right. But this is generally a narrative that the right will push more than the left. The right is more interested in portraying. The right wants to end the shutdown, and the left doesn't. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I talked a lot about that on the show yesterday. So this is the backdrop for the story. Studies show 800,000 Americans could die from shutdown-related suicides, 13 times worse than projected virus deaths. Studies estimate that the economic recession spawned by government-mandated shutdowns in the name of coronavirus safety could result in suicide rates 13 times higher than deaths caused by the virus itself. A study published by Goldman Sachs. Okay, Goldman Sachs. So there you go right away. That's another warning sign for you because that's Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs is they're definitely probably in favor of opening things up. So they want these studies to say this right from the start. Again, I'm not saying you dismiss the studies in and of themselves because of that, but you immediately have skepticism. So I immediately have skepticism. I haven't dismissed it. I think, well, you'll see. I think that there may be some good reason to it, but I don't know. Do I trust these numbers? I don't know. A study published by Goldman Sachs on Monday calculated the unemployment rate could rise from 3% to 15% over the next few months. Authored by economist Jan Hatzius, The new report titled "The Sudden Stop, a Deep Trough, a Bigger Rebound" forecasts the unemployment rate rising 12% by mid-year. Another study titled "The Economics of Suicide, an Empirical Study of America's Rising Suicide Rate" estimates the correlation between unemployment and suicide rates. According to the 2014 findings, with a 1% increase in the annual unemployment rate, approximately 21 additional suicides per 100,000 of population can be expected. So that's how they get, if you work it out, then it gets to, I cut it off so soon. That's how they get to the math of the 800,000. But there's one really, this is one of those things where you talk, look at this study, this is this, well, you mash them together. But this study, here we have the unemployment, but it doesn't factor in like, okay, everybody's unemployment right now. But if we're able to figure out ways to enable people that choose to work, not force people to work, not force them to be in a conscription army. Because if Coronaville is as deadly as you say it is, then you can't ask people to go out and risk their lives and serve others. No, that's conscription if you do that. You can't conscript people to be your army for you, because this is the de facto army we have out there. And right now it's largely conscription, and that's not cool. It's really not cool. But this doesn't factor in, to be a devil's advocate, I guess, that you're talking, what I'd like to see from this study, unemployed for how long? If you're unemployed and you have a hope that you'll get your job back, I don't know how many people do, but that's going to be a factor. If you're unemployed and then and we figure out how to open things up in sensible ways, just, you're not going to have 100,000 people gathering in Michigan to watch a football game. But we can figure out ways. We need to get back to work, especially those of us that would want to get back to work. Again, with the caveat being, we need to not create a conscription army, and we need to do something to fix this conscription army we have now. It's not just not within our American ideational constructs. It's not just. We don't have conscription armies here, so that has to end. But outside of that, people need to get back to work. If they want to, they have to figure out a way. And I have a feeling that many parts of the country are going to get back to work a lot sooner. So you look at a shutdown in and of itself, is it going to kill 800,000 people? It might, if it goes on for a few months. If you don't have, even if you have times where you have to constrict and whatever it is. This is part of the problem, by the way, of how everything has been handled right from the start. It's like what happened in the USS Theodore Roosevelt. No one has been honest and upfront and told people what's really going on so that they can make informed decisions based on their preferences. They didn't give them an opportunity to join the war against coronavirus. They just said you're in it, and then they didn't even tell them fully what they were in. They wildly vary. They go from everyone going to die to it's nothing to everyone going to die to maybe it's something to this. There's no consistency whatsoever from any of our thought leaders, any of our experts. It's all over the map. That's not how you build armies. And you don't build armies by conscripting people into a battle that you don't even tell them what's going on. And then once they're in it, then you tell them more. But then you come back later and say something different. That's what we're dealing with in America right now. This thing could have been so much different if we had brought all of us into the conversation right from the start. You can't rely on experts, because experts, they understand what goes in the labs, and they understand at the highest level when they have to, whether they're administering tests, certain things experts understand. They understand the methodologies that they have to utilize to execute these high-level tasks that we have to have done. But despite all that, they don't understand what they don't understand. And they don't understand the lives that you are leading and the circumstances that you're faced with. And they don't even understand fully the nature of this virus. And yet, they're the only ones that were in the room. It was the experts, the politicians, and the corpo state. That's it. Those are the only people that formulated all of this. And this is true at all levels. Your local government didn't invite anyone in to talk about what do we do to. They invited the politicians and their local business leaders, their money people, their experts. They didn't invite human beings outside of that. The vast majority of society wasn't included in the conversation right from the start. It's one of the reasons why our republic is outmoded. The idea of selecting 430 people, just 430 people, to make fundamental decisions about the lives of 320 million, that is insane. That is absolutely. We have to have a more consensual method of having all human beings in our country with the opportunity to be involved in the conversation. And voting is not a conversation. Voting is manipulation, emotional blackmail, fear, false hope, manipulation. That's what voting is. That's what elections are. When you have hundreds of millions of people voting for one person, that's not a conversation. That is just that is just, you get to decide who your puppeteer is. That's it, because you're not part of the process, and they're not going to be able to build systems that even understand us. We poors, we people outside of the whether we're not citadelians or whether we're not close related vassals. There are some vassals on the outer edge that are kind of in the, you could still consider them part of the poors. They got kind of one foot in both doors, but still, that's what we're facing. So the death rate of this virus is the most important number we need, but one that is not likely to emerge, if it ever does, honestly, anytime soon. Not in time for anyone to make a definitive argument between closing up and shutting down, and all points in between. And my suspicion was once that we would settle at around 0.6% fatality rate, a rate that is high enough to have some shutdowns and offer workers the protection should they choose not to be de facto conscripted into the Coronaville worker army. If it were much higher, or proves to be much higher, then the shutdown in general might be warranted, if not the methods of how that shutdown was achieved. So let's hope the findings here turn out to be a gross exaggeration. But if they're not, and the death rate is low, there will be significant lawsuits that will probably be quashed with some retroactively applied protection for officials that make decisions during Coronavilles. Mark my words, that's coming. Or barring that, the numbers will never honestly be shown. They're going to have to show significant death somehow, and it's easy enough to do. It's easy enough to shift death over to there, and I think they've done that to a certain degree. Now, to what degree that they've done that within the parameters of how you do these in pandemics or not, I don't know. I don't know whether they're doing it within the margins of what would be accepted, because I've seen some scientific reasons why it might be that that's normal for them to, if you have a coronavirus and something else more life-threatening might kill you, still put it down as the coronavirus for some reason. I'm just not sure if they're going beyond that. If there's not a margin that they're crossing or a standard that they're crossing, I have no idea. I have to rely on scientists. And then what I get from scientists is scientist in right wing says, "Oh no, man, these numbers, nah, man, there's like 3 people that died so far." Well, they're not saying 3. I'm just hyperbolic. They do believe the deaths are in the thousands, but and then you'll talk to other scientist person in leftist land, and it's it's terrible. We're all going to die. We're probably, the second wave is going to take out more than the first wave. And I mean, that might, I'm not saying, they might be telling the truth. I would have no idea of knowing. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't trust people in general anymore that have any kind of factional affiliation. And the more that faction is a significant part of their lives, the less I trust them. Because factions cut us off from conversations. Factions compel us to stay true to the narrative, to see what we want to see rather than what is. And it's a cliche, but it's true. And we live at a time of hyperfactionalism, so our ability to figure out what's really going on is significantly limited. and I sure hope this isn't right. I don't want anyone to die, even if it would quote unquote prove my narrative or advantage me. It would be totally advantageous to my personal preferences. eh, Well, some core personal preferences, if everyone in China died. It would violate some other core preferences that supersede those others, though. So that's the problem. So I don't want anyone in China to die. I don't want China. I don't want China to have it worse off than America. I don't want America to have it. I don't want anybody to have it worse off. But I'm not rooting for any one nation state to get it good, to get it badder than me. So that even if I want nation states to do it worse than me, so my nation state doesn't look incompetent. Nope, not signing up. I want the truth. I want to know what is. I don't want to sign up for a narrative, and I don't want to wish harm and ill on others to push my narrative. But factions do. Factions, they tend to gravitate towards that path. I think I'm going to end that feature right there. This is the 5 o'clock show on the Action Batsa YouTube channel, Frico Talks the News. Or, yeah, just the Action Batsa YouTube channel. This is Frico Talks the News, YouTube channel. I cannot speak today. I don't know why. I'm actually have a really good health day, so I don't know why I'm having a hard time speaking. Usually when I have this time, because I do have periods of time where I have difficulty speaking, it's mostly when I have like a really bad migraine. As a matter of fact, it's almost always. But for some reason, my words are not working good today. Anyway, join us at 6 p.m. for the next video on the Action Batsa YouTube channel. That is our talk focus. And our top talk focus of the day is going to be hemp-powered home in sync with the sun, thanks to Morocco. Ooh, so I noticed about halfway through that I didn't have the music on, and I thought, I'm not going to have the music on this time. I like mixing things up. So there, that one didn't have music this time. This next one will, don't worry. Or if you don't like the music, so what? I'm just kidding. I love you, man. I'm sorry. Not really, but if it makes you feel better, I'm sorry. Let's get to this. Let's get to the focus. Let's just get right in. So let's just dive right in. Ugh. I don't like Philly D. I don't know if you noticed that. Just, ugh. This is our talk focus for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. My name is Frico for Frico.com. Our top focus of the day is hemp-powered home in sync with the sun, thanks to Morocco. This is an excerpt from Defense Blog. Wednesday, April 20th. I don't know why. Sometimes I forget to put that. It's not supposed to be in there, dang it. USS America, that's also not supposed to be in there. These are the tags. That's terrible. That's terrible. Fire this guy. USS America conducts massive flight operations in South China Sea. The sailors and Marines assigned to amphibious assault ship USS America, LHA-6, baby, conduct massive flight operations in the South China Sea. An F-35B Lightning II fighter aircraft, MV-22 Osprey, and CH-53 Super Stallion assigned to the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, Marine Medium Tilt Rotor, VMM 265 reinforced. Wow, I don't even know what all that means. That confuses the... What does that even mean? Marine Medium Tiltrotor VMM 265 reinforced. Conducted flight operations during naval operations in support of U.S. national interest in the Indo-Pacific area of operations. America, with the embarked 31 STMEUs and VMM 265 reinforced, is conducting operations in the South China Sea after completing Exercise Cobra Gold in the Kingdom of Thailand, March 7th. Cobra Gold? Exercise Cobra Gold? What the freak is... I gotta check this out. Hold on. We gotta look into this. What is this? What is this Exercise Cobra Gold for which you speak? I am interested in this. Exercise Cobra Gold, dear, you tell me. You'll fill me with the nurturing. Cobra Gold. Are we gonna go to... Oh, here we go. I'm gonna go to David's Hub. There was a Wikipedia, but I'm like, come on, man. Come on. Hold on. Let me get this ready. All right, let's get back here, and here we go. There we go. Oh, I gotta make you a little bit smaller. There we go. Cobra Gold is a Thailand and United States co-sponsored combined joint task force and joint theater security operation exercise annually conducted. Wow, Cobra Gold is annually conducted. CG20 is the 39th iteration of the Cobra Gold series of exercises. Cobra Gold is an important element of the United States and participating nations' regional military-to-military engagement efforts to maintain readiness and increase the capacity, and interoperability. So this is basically Operation Defend Us from China. That's what this is. Okay, just so you know. That's what that is. Operation Defend Us from China. That's Thailand. Operation Defend Us from China. That's what that is. Let's get to the second focus. I think it's important. I put it in here because I do think this is important to note. I think it's important to just throw this in. This stuff is going on. That this reality of power stuff is still clinging along. People are still maneuvering and positioning and preparing to potentially kill or be killed. That's all happening. That hasn't stopped in any way, shape, or form. Wars still continuing. Turkey's still doing his stuff in Syria. No nation state has fundamentally stopped that. The only times that they have stopped that is when they had an issue, like with the USS Roosevelt. Took that thing right out. What would that crew have been like if you had told them right from the start what was going on? Listen, there's this virus. It's going to spread in the crew. Some of you may die, and we want to know how many people are willing to serve their country and stay on board and keep this thing operating even as this thing goes through us. You have that conversation with people. Not you just, no, you give them that choice. I think you give them that choice, even in the military maybe. Yeah, I think so. I think in the military you give them that choice. And I bet you almost every one of them would have said yes. But you never gave them that choice. Instead, you treated them like commodities. We treat people like commodities, and we treat capital like family. That's our structure. Capital gets most of the capital too when it comes to rescuing the country from potential doom. Capital gets taken care of first. Humans, maybe some humans never. They're just allowed to rot on the room. Cool. Quantum building blocks go one-dimensional. 1D power is the secret behind building quantum power. Polyatomic molecules have been trapped by a magneto-optical trap. That's why they call it a trap, don't you know? I'm a jerk. Bringing to observable life a 1D object, a cold molecule. And here's an excerpt from phys.org. The realization of a 1D magneto-optical trap of polyatomic molecules. That's a fun sentence. I like it. The realization of a 1D magneto-optical trap of polyatomic molecules. Beautiful. Love it. You guys, you can feel that song, right? You feel that. Researchers at the Harvard MIT Center for Ultra Cold Atoms. Ultra cold. Ultra cold atoms. Those jammy jams. Everybody wants those now. Have recently demonstrated a one-dimensional magneto-optical trap of polar-free radical calcium monophydroxide. This technique, outlined in a paper published in Physical Review Letters, was realized by cooling CaOH using radiative laser cooling techniques. Cold molecules are wonderfully complex systems that can be powerful measurement tools looking for new physics beyond the standard model or intricate building blocks to construct novel quantum systems and simulate their behavior. Louis Baum, one of the researchers carried out the study, told phys.org. At low temperatures, we are able to fully manipulate even individual molecules, controlling how they interact with environment and each other. Imagine that. Dude. Just imagine, I'll paint a little world for you kids, because I love you, and I want to give you this vision, this vision of hope. And the vision of hope is, I'm going to repeat this thing until I get sick of it, which might be tomorrow, might be 3 years from now. And that is, just imagine a world in which you've got your little AI buddies, artificial intelligent buddies that you created on your own with, yeah. You got some core framework to operate within. You got some methodology to suss through it and make sure that, you wouldn't be 100% sure, but make sure that most reasonable threats are eliminated, so no one snuck in some code in there that is not a reflection of what you want your AI buddy to be. Yeah, these like basic generic code building blocks that you could choose from, and then you put them together, and then your AI buddy grows, and then you create a couple more AI buddies, and you have like a team of AI. However many AI buddies you might eventually think might be the level where it's maximal, too much or too little. Maybe it's 7, 12, whatever it is. Maybe it's just one. Maybe one does it all. Maybe I would probably not want one. I'd want a council of AI buddies. That's what I would want. Probably 12. Why not? 12 is a good number. Maybe only 7. 7 to 12. Let's just say that. And these AI buddies, you're like, yo, man, I want to design this thing. I want to have these. I want to have these like robot things go inside me, and I want them to because I got this cancer thing in me, and it's like rare. It's like in this place nobody can get to. Oh, man, no problem here. All right, AI buddies come back, and they got like, well, do this, we'll do that. Okay, and then you settle it, and then they instruct your little 3D printing whatever thingy, and it prints it out, and you got a little thing injected into you. You do it yourself. You're in control. You're designing it. You're putting it in. Nobody's putting stuff in that you don't know where it came from. And bada boom, bada bing, cancer gone. Or maybe, AI buddies, just starting to feel a little groggy there. I want to send in a little round of folks to clear through my brain passages and make sure all the stuff is cleared and I got nothing going on the dendrites, and make some repairs. If you can repair the brain. You can rebuild. Imagine being able to put in buddies that as you're losing brain cells, you could literally replace them, but you've designed it. It's all in your control. Yeah. That's things like this are making those things more possible. That's pretty cool. There you go. See, folks, there is all kinds of hope in the world. Of course, on the other side, this is totally dystopian, too, because everybody, when you're born, you might get an injection that makes you who they want you to be. They won't even matter. They'll do a genetic scan of the embryo, and they'll determine where the embryo's strengths, weaknesses are, and then from that, they'll determine where they're going to maximize, or maybe the embryo's totally screwed up, so we're going to totally re-engineer that thing to be whatever we want. And you're like, okay, what do we need? You got some algorithms, whatever. This person at such an age, we're going to be roughly need this age. At this age, and we're like, okay, so we're going to set this person down this path. Like, that's the dystopian version. The utopian version, if there is such a thing, is you control your own tech. That's the thing. We want to take tech off grid. I think I said off-grid AI. I think I just want to say off-grid tech. Off-grid tech is tech that is developed outside of the parameters of the state or the corpo state. It operates outside of internet protocols, or intellectual property. It operates outside of the constraints of limited resource corporate structures. That's what we need. We need off-grid tech. And if we have off-grid tech, this is awesome. This can change our lives. We could become one with the universe in ways that we could never imagine. Just clean ourselves up. Everybody walking around like, hey, did you just clean yourself out there? Yeah, I did just this morning. Hey, it shows you're brighter. It's it's great. Yeah. I wish I could do it more, but you start to do it too, you lose your fucking I know. And then you go on your way. Everybody's happy, feeling good. They got nutritions. They got everything maximized. Yeah, man, it can happen. It can happen. It will never happen if it's behind the intellectual property doors. If it's behind those intellectual property doors, it'll never happen. It'll be some really watered, filtered down version of what we could have, and it'll be used every bit as much as a weapon against us as a tool to help us. And it will not help us to the degree there'll be an artificial separation between us and those that have, because they'll be able to afford the artificial scarcity versions of this that do the really cool stuff. We won't. The only times we'll get the really cool stuff is when they want to put stuff in us that we don't want. So that's the world where we're heading, and we're not far away from it. I know it's amazing. This sounds just insane. You hear somebody walking down, and 2 or 3 years ago, if I were to, I've had some of these thoughts a long time ago, but I don't speak many of my ideas and thoughts out because they sound nuts. But it's not nuts anymore. And it wasn't when I said it. It's just that the progress wasn't quite there, but you could see where it was going. Even back in 2003, when I really first started to get into the tech element of the universe, I could see where not exactly, but in fair part, I could see where it was going. I could see this stuff emerging. 3D printing. I mean, I understood as soon as I understood the principles of 3D printing. I figured it was a matter of time before eventually I'll be able to go down to the car store and order my car that I've customized. It might have a 57 Chevy interior, and I've tweaked it to whatever I want it to look like, whatever equipment, all that. I give it to the person, totally customized. You spend millions of dollars to get it customized, but you won't pay more for that car than anyone would for a car that just had a regular design. You won't pay any extra for customization because you just order it, and then they got their little this vat. Well, I imagine a vat of some sort of gel type substance that would allow nanobots to go into and build molecule by molecule, and they could literally from the inside out build the entirety of a car, and they would have the resources that they could fetch and take with them and do with take the molecules. But we're talking about a trillion or whatever, however many nanobots the thing would be. In the beginning, it would just look like in the vat is like this cloud of dark whatever, and then as it goes on, you slowly from the inside start to see things form, and then maybe it takes about 2-3 days. And like that's what I imagine we'll get to eventually. We'll get to those kinds of things, and then there are stuff that they're working on. This type of tech here would even help with that, because now you can have these nanobots that are programmed. These and then not to mention you can manipulate molecules within molecules. You can create they're inorganic machines built with organic material that have they have organic properties. So yeah, it could happen. It could happen pretty soon. And that is the end of this first half of the show. If you're watching live on the Freako on dlive.tv/Freako, then you know that this is the end of the first half of the show. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, Action Batsa, this is just the end of a segment. Stay tuned. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The news poem will magically appear, and the title of the news poem is Amazon Employee of the Month. So stay with us on the other side of this break. And if you're on D Live, hold on. I'm not done with you yet. Whew. All right. I got to the halfway point, ladies and gentlemen. I got to the halfway point. I want to say something a little bit about my health, and I say this to some other folks that maybe you're suffering from some of the things I've been suffering from. I've had, especially over the last 2.5 years, I don't know really what I have. I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I've been diagnosed with CFS and IBS, all the family of stuff. And I haven't been diagnosed with POTS, but I have all the classic symptoms of adrenal POTS. And lately, I have what I call high pain days. These are the days where it hurts so bad you just tear up. It's bad. And I have had a lot of high pain days, and I very rarely go more than a day or two without having a high pain day. I have not had a high pain day since not last Tuesday, but the Tuesday before that. I've gone almost 2 weeks without a high pain day. And I mentioned that because I've been taking, because of Coronaville, I've been doing supplements and whatever's to make my immune system punch Coronavilles in the face, including the elderberry syrup. I take that regularly. Vitamin D, vitamin C, K, and I don't do the zinc because I had a bad reaction to that. So I didn't. I won't do that. But I'm taking all these things, and since I've been taking all these things, I feel much better. I still get my migraines. I haven't really stopped those too much. So there's something else going on with those. But I haven't had high pain days in a while. Now I've had some high pain moments here and then in just in this during this period of time, but they're very brief. They're maybe toward the end of the day, a brief little period of time. I wake up. I almost always wake up in high pain. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But I really think that one of the whatever I have, which I think fibromyalgia is just a word they use to clump people in that they don't know what they really have. That's my view, and I do believe that there's also plenty of people who have fibromyalgia, who really they're just, well, whatever. I won't pretend to know who's what, but when you say you have fibromyalgia, but whatever it is, I think it has something, well, at least my body, and I think maybe many people like it. I think I have circulatory issues, and wherever circulation isn't right and you're not getting oxygens where you should, that's where infections start to rise. So I think what's happening is my immune system is getting stronger at pushing out all of the type of weird little infections I'm probably susceptible to because my circulation is bad. That's my theory. And I think there's a lot of other people. So I would say if you're not doing the supplements, if you got any kind of stuff that is in the fibromyalgia family, try taking these supplements. And I've been taking them for about a month or maybe 2 months. So it took a while before it starts to show up, if I'm right about it being. I think it is. So I want to mention that. And then with that, I'm going to go on break. I'll see you in about 5 minutes, everybody, with the news poem. It's exciting. Amazon Employee of the Month. Going to be awesome.
Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me.
Oh, yes. We're coming back. We're coming back. We're coming back, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming back. I have not abandoned you. If you thought I abandoned you, I would never do that. I love you. You know, my brother, he has this annoying way that he says that. He says it at the end of almost every call. I love you. He says it like that, too, and he knows I hate it. I love you. So I'll never say that to you, by the way. I say I love you. Because I mean it. I do. So, we've come back from that intermission, and I was allowed to get some liquidation through and some liquidation out. There was an exchange. Innie-outie stuff happened, and now that the innie-outie stuff is over, we're ready for the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready. We are ready. By the way, have you noticed I did something dramatic yesterday? This is much shorter now. You notice I cut it off there? I did that. Let's get back to the show, and that means get a little bit of a for those that need this is for you.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is for the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. I plan on talking about the news without freaking out. That's what I do. I do for you, the people. Welcome back to Frico Talks the News. We were talking about stuff, and now we're going to continue to talk about stuff because that's what we do at Frico Talks the News. Let's just get right to the first segment here. First segment's going to be our news poem, and it's a relatively short news poem. Sometimes I don't know what these things are going to take and I have no idea, and then I write them, and then that's what they are. This is a news poem for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com, and our news poem of the day is Amazon Employee of the Month. Amazon has become the symbol of the emerging narrative among workers who have not chosen to go to work in Coronaville, but found themselves nonetheless conscripted by their economic circumstances, their inability to say no. With no help from the state, they push on and do what they do to wrestle with the worry of the possible, unsure even of the full nature and scope of the threat. Now, Kroger may have taken things to a next level when that might further open the door for people to consider the bills of rights of people now working against their will, with income necessity driving their choice. The news poem that comes out of this ends up being about Amazon, for they're far and away the biggest employer of this class of Americans, the folks who are conscripted to serve boxes with smiles. But the news is about Kroger's call to give these workers at least one kind of earned status, to be called emergency personnel. And I would add, they should be equipped and paid like them as well. Now, I sat down and I started to write the poem. I don't usually have the title first, so I didn't have it in mind. But as I wrote, and that's what emerged. So this is a Kroger story, but I ended up writing about Amazon. That happens. You never know. This is maybe one of the first times where the poem took a weird, somewhat misdirection from the news. But just so you know, just for future reference, the poem might end up not even relating to the news story in the end. Sometimes that hasn't happened yet. But it could happen. If it happens, I just let it go. That's what news poeming is about. Just let it go, man. Just go where it goes. It's connected somehow, but even if it's probably only would be understood by you, if you at all. But somehow it's connected. But okay, news first. Poem follows. Grocery store chain Kroger has urged the government to acknowledge its workers as emergency personnel, as Yahoo noted. If the government does choose to give Kroger's employees this designation, they would be able to get access to personal protection equipment, that's PPE to you and me, which they can use to protect themselves while they continue to work through this pandemic. Given the significant daily risk these workers face, we're calling on all of our federal and state leaders to take immediate action, Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen and UFCW International President Mark Perrone said. In a statement, the United Food and Workers, UFCW, International Union is the largest union in the country for food and retail. Specifically, we're requesting our national leaders to assign a temporary designation of first responder or emergency personnel status for all grocery workers. Make no mistake, this designation is absolutely critical, as it will ensure these frontline workers have priority access to personal protection equipment like masks and gloves. That's the end of the excerpt. Hold on one second. I had something in the back of my throat. I had to clear it, and I did not want you to hear that. So when I remember to turn off my mic for that, I do. I try my best. Amazon Employee of the Month. Hope you might have found the truth. I wake up and pray I don't kill my father. The work grinds. The belts spill out to the near static universal boom. But not quite. A skip. A sink. The volume is out of the spires. I wake up. I make coffee and wonder why I feel so nauseous this morning. The ponder that dangles to death. The fire that ticks the belly and makes fumes rise throughout the body. Toxic. Blood becomes a thought about my father not dying. Heroic. Conscripted. Thought against the well where the discards go. I hope you find my service satisfactory. Oh, turn off the lights here. There we go. Turn off the lights before you leave the room. That's what I do. I turn off the lights before I leave the room. That's what I do. We're going to get ready for the next segment here. We're rocketing through the segments, baby. Yeah, I think most shows will probably be more like this show where I don't talk nearly as much in between the segments. But some days I probably, like yesterday. Yesterday was one of them days. Actually, yesterday was a good day to have a show, to do a show, to be able to talk, actually. Even if only 2 or 3 people listen, I don't care. 2 or 3 people listen, that's great. So, yeah. Even if nothing else, you get to talk. You talk stuff out. You're not just talking into a wall. And the interesting thing for me, though, one of the reasons, especially, I will say this, during Coronaville, You will get a lot more talking between segments than you will after Coronavirus, because right now I am interested for a lot of reasons, both for understanding myself and documenting what's going on in Coronavirus. I'm very interested in hearing a very candid version of myself as I have been evolving and will continue to evolve or devolve, whichever the case might be, in the course of Coronavirus. And on the other side of it, maybe a couple, 2, 3 years, maybe even a year from now, it'll be like some special anniversary. Probably it'll be a year from whatever people designate as being more or less the end of Coronavirus. That's when it'll be. But then at that point, then a year from that point, to go back and to look and to revisit and to see, I think it's going to be really maybe scary. Maybe be scary to see where I go with this, but hopefully not. Hopefully you see an arch in the right direction. We'll see. Let's get ready for this next segment. But first, I gotta take care of this dryness in the throat. I should have started the music there, man. Just leaving you silent like that, that's not right. So I apologize for that. That was a big no-no. That was bad. That was bad. I apologize. There we go. All right, let's record for the briefs. This is a talk briefs for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. My name is Frico with Frico.com. And our top brief today, this is in South China Seas heats up with U.S. amphibians. And this is an excerpt from Defense Blog. And another example of what's going on in the universe here. It continues to grind, continues to do what it does. Says, you know, I just realized I put the story in twice. Did I actually do this? Let me see. Did I do this? Did I put this story in here twice? I did. Wow. Oh no, I know what happened. Oh my gosh. I see what happened. So here we have the featured stories in Talk Focus. And I know how, there's a reason that the wrong thing in here. So you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this story. Let's do the real version of this story now. How about that? Let's do that. That is going to be what we're going to talk about. This is, I think this is going to end up being the focus, and then the other one will be the brief, so I'll mix up the segments. Okay, so I psych your mind. Hemp-powered home in sync with the sun thanks to Morocco. Morocco is synthesizing hemp and the sun to create an eco-building, a self-sustaining home that is in harmony with the environment. The concept was actually developed by students from Morocco who entered the new concept to the World Solar Decathlon Africa 2019. This is yet another homestead tech discovery that utilized local resources to build self-sustaining domiciles. And this is a story from an excerpt from Africa 21. Groundbreaking eco-building combines hemp and solar energy. A revolutionary eco-building has just been built in Morocco. It combines a hemp construction and a solar energy system for total independence from the electricity grid. The project is called Sunimplant. The new project in Morocco is unprecedented. It is called Sunimplant and was designed as an ecological detached house by a team of independent architects, experts from the National School of Architecture and the National School of Applied Sciences, both based in Tétouan, Morocco, and experts from the Fraunhofer Center for Silicon Photovoltaics in Germany. The eco-building is a combination of a construction made of hemp and a solar energy system for absolute independence from the electricity grid. The challenge was to create a hemp composite using plant bioresins and avoiding technical or synthetic components. The eco-building is ahead of its time and reflects a turning point not only in North Africa, but also in hemp construction, which does not have comparable prototypes in the world, says Monika Bromer, the German architect who led the project and also was the co-founder of Adrar Nu, an NGO that promotes the use of indigenous hemp stalks for rural development and sustainable employment in Morocco. And see, I don't like that it's connected to big scale stuff, because again, they'll develop a system that they'll put behind patent rather than a system that they share with the world. Maybe they do share it with the world. I mean, you could say, well, they're building for the Morocco. No, I mean the IP. Share the IP with the world. Although the building was designed to stimulate rural development, the technology also has applications in urban areas. Of course it does. The very concept of sun implant belongs to a team of Moroccan students. It was presented at the World Solar Decathlon Africa 2019, a biannual international competition organized by the U.S. Department of Energy and Morocco's Solar and New Energy Research Center. The competition aims to encourage student teams to design and construct buildings powered by renewable energy while optimizing key considerations such as affordability, resilience, and occupant health. Affordability, yep. Ease of creation, using local resources to create more self-sustainability and autonomy. This is a resource that you can readily replenish. The competition aims to encourage student teams to design and construct buildings powered by renewable energy, and in this case, by renewable materials in a sense. If you're building out of plants, that's a renewable material, right? Because you can keep growing more of it. While optimizing key considerations, I like that, renewable materials. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Frico. Somebody should take that idea and use it. The competition aims to encourage student teams to design and construct buildings powered by renewable energy while optimizing key considerations such as affordability, resilience, and occupation health. The 2019 edition was held in Ben Guerir, the capital of the Rehamna province in Morocco. It was the first time the competition was held on the African continent. Yeah, that's cool. So this is actually now in the excerpt the excerpt versions on the videos. This will be in the briefs. This is a brief. That story is now a brief. Okay, I switched stories around. You did get both stories in the end, but okay. Children may not be coronavirus super spreaders, as boy gave it to none of 172 contacts. Mirror UK. And again, with this, you'd have to know, you definitely have to, this is another study. So who did the study? Now, this one doesn't say who did the study, but you want to know that. Everybody, which agenda does this advance? This is advances the agenda to the right. So if they have connections to the right and the corpo state, basically. So, although right now I'm thinking the corpo state's probably okay with this continuing for a little bit more, but they're probably ready at some point pretty quickly to get back. But right now they're probably taking advantage. Oh, well, they are. They're taking advantage of the fire sales, so they're happy with. But they're probably ready to end. So yeah, look for the corpo state connection, the right type connection, and if it's not, then I would take the study more seriously. But I don't know what they are. So while early studies indicate that children may be super spreaders of coronavirus, a new study suggests that this is not the case. The study found that a 9-year-old boy who contracted coronavirus in France did not pass the virus on, despite being in contact with more than 970 people. Wait. Okay, so that's not a study. That's one case. That's not as. Does one case a study make? So this seems like a little bit hyperbolic there. So this should be. Let me see. Children may not be coronavirus super spreaders, as boy gave it to none of 172 contacts. That's a fair. I'll give it. That's a fair headline. Never mind. All right. I think mine is actually more sensational. Let's see. Where was mine? I got to go up here to get my headline. Okay. I know how this happens. Well, I have when I'm putting things together, it's like a factory line that I have, and I switch stuff around somehow, is what happened. That's what happened, ladies and gentlemen, is I literally switch stuff around. So, and if you knew the system that I have, you'd understood how that could happen. Here we go. Hemp-powered home in sync with the sun, thanks to Morocco. Oh no, that is my. Well, where's the defense story? I don't even have the. Oh, the defense story. Oh, never mind. I don't have my headline. Oh, that's right. I don't write a headline for this. Duh. Wow. I think, wow. That's pretty cool. So take this for what it's worth. Is it a study? It's one boy. My headline might be, is this one boy the proof, all the proof we need to show that children don't spread coronavirus? That would be my headline. All that just to, yeah, that would be my headline. Something like that. All right, this is from New York Mag. You know what? Yeah, I'll do this one. New York Mag. 4 tech firms already dominate the post-Coronaville world. Over the last decade, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google have compromised the immunities of the retail and media sector. You like the way they did that? You like the way they worked in the Coronaville referencing there? Nice. Where Amazon takes 1 out of every 3 e-commerce dollars, and Google and Facebook take 2 of 3 digital marketing dollars. Holy moly. However, within your portfolio of the 4, it's fun to speculate who accretes or leaks value relative to each other as it might inform. This is basically, where I'm getting. This is actually like a stock tip kind of thing. But I thought it was interesting to note a couple key things here that I put in here. This article, by the way, this is a massive article. I suggest you check it out. It's pretty trippy. The iconic tech. So here we go. Apple, the iconic tech firm, saw its stock recast in 2019, experiencing a near doubling of its price to earnings ratio. There's likely been a flight to safety, and the iPhone continues to be the most profitable item in the history of business, commanding Ferrari-like margins with the production volumes of Toyota. In addition, the firm's recurring revenue business services is now a healthy 18% of revenues. Wow. So that is their digital stuff and their IP digital stuff. They're building their IP empire, and you can bet these guys are buying IPs all over the place right now too. They're in it. They're in it to win it, man. Facebook and Google's business will have the rebound patterns the president is hoping for the economy. A V. The keyword is hoping. It won't happen. Search terms and ads on Google and Facebook have plunged 20% in the last 30 days. The recovery will be equally as bloody on the way back up. The duopoly share of the digital market is predicted at 61% in 2021. Which, where are they saying they're at now? But, oh no, there'll only be 61%? That's terrible. So down 5%? It's like 2/3, now it's 61%. So it's like, they're devastated. That's a lot of money though. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. There's a lot of unhappy shareholders. They'd be like unhappy that you only have 61% of the market. Just think about that. It's a bad year. You have 60. Just think about the insanity that we have systems in which one entity can have that much market power. Especially when we so easily and clearly say that certainly at the corpo state level, the market and the state, they're one. They're also at war with each other. They're also at one, and the corpo state is a de facto state in and of itself. It's boundaryless. Facebook has made no indications of its fundamental allegiance to America, and Twitter, in that Tim Pool interview on Joe Rogan, even the Twitter people made it very clear they're absolutely insistent that we're not a United States company, we're a world company. These are nation states. They're states. They don't have the nation part, but they're states in and of themselves. And these guys are the ones that set the tone. They help dramatically in reinforcing and in discouraging whatever type of heuristic institutional developments you'd like to see in humans that you could affect through selectively rewarding and selectively filtering out whatever thought you deem worth lifting up and worth not allowing on your platform. If that was 7-8 Googles, 7-8 Facebooks, 7-8 Twitters, that type of competition would strongly discourage these companies from assuming that they have some right and or duty to so micromanage the thoughts of other human beings. And there's always going to be some degree of governance on social media platforms, some things you wouldn't allow and not allow. But the question is the degree to which you're enforcing that. And these guys just seem to keep adding layers and layers and layers and layers and layers upon layers. More and more moralistic, constructive, supremacist, ideological advancing with the governance that they choose. It's not based on serving the customers, the products that they want anymore. It's about making sure that the customers become the kind of human beings that you think they should be. And that's the world we live in, folks. That is it. And they're still going to be here after Coronaville. As a matter of fact, Facebook is making military equipment. Google's making military equipment. They're all Amazon making military equipment. Amazon in the AI war. Facebook AI war. Google AI war. These companies have huge, vast resources. Their profit margins are huge. They have vast resources that they can bring to bear to control. Well, their only competition is the few that are left, that are vying to consolidate the mind of humanity, in essence, to be the one that holds all the IP. That would be the ultimate dream, to consolidate power so that one company held all the IP. Everything you did was copyrighted one company. Maybe that's the name of the company, just one company. After a while, yeah, we're just called one company. Welcome to one company. In Rocco's Modern Life, they had Conglommo and said, "We own you." And in one company, we own your patent. We own your patent. And believe me, when you're born, you'll be a patent. You'll be a patent that company owns. It'll be you, because you'll be born in some form of manipulation of genes, whatever, so that you will literally be a patent in and of itself, that you can't even use your own pattern because the one company owns it. That's the world that these guys are literally fighting for. And they think somehow that that's the best outcome, because in that world, they'll be sure to filter out all the dirty thoughts, all the bad things that might upset us, that could damage us, and just encourage us through cooperative means, not consensual, cooperative means, because you're the only show in town, so we don't have the power to say no to you, really. So you cooperatively encourage us to become the humans that you'd like us to be, that you think, that you're absolutely certain that if we were, everyone would be wonderful. Yeah. I think I'll end my brief on that note, and we'll get ready for the next segment. And the next segment is the dialectical. It's the last segment of the show. If you're watching on the live stream, dlive.tv/Freako, then you know that this is coming to the last segment of the show. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, Action Batsa, this is the second to last segment of the show. So, second to last excerpt, whatever. These are like shows in and of themselves, little mini shows within shows if you're on the YouTube channel. 9 p.m., I will play the dialectical for you. And the dialectical title is The Power Advantage of Landlord Sex. That's what you have to look forward to at 9 p.m. right here on the Action Batsa YouTube channel, if you're watching that now, and if you're on D Live. Stick with me, man. Stick with me. All right, everybody up here on D Live Lane. We're getting ready for the hold on. I can't leave that light on. Left the light on in the room. All right, we're back. Everything's fine. Everything's fine, man. All right, we're ready to do the last segment of the show, which is the dialectic. I want to mention real quick, if you like the show, or if you feel like this guy's clearly had a hard life, whatever. I really have, compared to 99% of the planet. Most Americans can say that too, by the way. most all of us, even the ones, well, not the ones at the worst of the worst, but the ones, there's a lot of us really poors. I'm not a really poors, but I've been really poors. I'm in a non-really poors segment, but in danger of being there soon. Again, I've been there in various times throughout the last few years as well. I float up and down, I guess you could say. Right now, I'm not really poor, so I can't say that. But even amongst us really poors, we're still kicking it larger than 99% of all of humanity that have ever existed. So we're still living a good life relative to the rest of humanity. So within that context, yeah, I'm going to do the last segment. How about I do that? The last segment of the show. That's what we're going to get to. We're going to get to the... Oh, within that context, pay the man. That's it. That's what I almost lost my train of thought. Within the context, pay the man. Go to freako.com/tip. Pay your Freako. Tip your Freako. You know, Freako tips. Come on. You go there, you hit a button, go to PayPal. You have to have PayPal. And if you don't have PayPal, get it and set it up right away just for Freako. And you go there and you send me money. And there's like options, $1, $2, $5. Yeah, do that. Why not? I'm worth it. Oh, God, I'm not worth it. I know. No, I'm pushing on, man. I know I'm worth it. We're all worth it. We're all worth donations, every single one of us. All right. Dialectical. Let's get ready. Let's get ready for the last segment of the show. And here we go. The Dialectical for Freako Talks the News on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. The title for the Dialectical is, It's Not Waitress Traps Fake Landlord in Rent Scam by Offering Him a Date. It's not that. It's The Power Advantage of Landlord Sex. I picked this because this is like next meta up from where I was. I'm talking about landlords getting sex favors. And this is next level landlord. This is fake landlords getting sex favors. Come on. Nobody gets beat with his own shoes. The power advantage of landlord sex. There has been a not unexpected rise in landlord whoring as of late. Landlords whoring their houses for sexual favors literally will rent for sex. Whores. Plain and simple. It seems the landlords, not all landlords, not all landlords, want to take advantage of the time of Coronaville to proposition or answer to the proposition of a tenant for sexual favors in exchange for not paying the rent. Imagine that. These land whores have decided that yes, I will accept this sex that you clearly don't want to have because I don't care about your feelings or your life, only your carnal usefulness. Cool. Let's get to the news script and then let's talk about cooperation again. Excerpt from the Shade Room. Landlords are allegedly asking for sexual favors from tenants who can't pay rent during the pandemic. Reports of sexual harassment by landlords are reportedly climbing as more and more Americans are struggling to pay rent during the Coronaville pandemic. Organizations in several states, including Hawaii and Illinois, reported seeing an increase in sexual harassment complaints in the month of April. We've received more cases at our office in the last 2 days than we have in the last 2 years. Kara Jaboli Karulis, the executive director of the Hawaii State Commission of the State of Women, told BuzzFeed News. Now, I tell you, what matter is it between myself and others what exchange goes between two consenting adults? This isn't sex worker shaming, by the way, but is it consensual or is it more like cooperative? I believe there are fundamentally, you know what? I think I did this story. Oh, man, this didn't show up in the right place. Hold on. What the heck we got going on here? This is not good. Hold on. Do I have it in here? All right. I'll tell you what. I am not going to have a dialectical today. That's just it. And that's what happens. Every once in a while, that happens. So I have the story from yesterday. Obviously, when I did the other story, oh gosh, yes. Yeah, this is what happens when you have an assembly line. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out. I've got to put in some safeguards so that doesn't happen again. But at any rate, I'm in the show now. It's done. I will be. I'm gonna just stop recording here because I'm not gonna post this one. So we won't have a dialectical for the YouTube channel, and that's fine. So anyway, I'm gonna be back again the same time tomorrow. 12:30.
Remember your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman.
So I have been.
No humans were harmed in the making of the
I've been dancing with the idea of whether I'm going to do 4 shows or 5 shows. So for right now, I'm going to stick with 5. So I will do this week, Thursday, Friday, probably at least next week as well. So far, I feel like okay. My biggest issue with it is if I'm not able to write, if I run out of brain energy to write for the shows for 5 days a week, because I have to do other things in my life, so I have to balance all that stuff out. And last week it was really challenging. I was kind of at the end I was like, ugh. But so far I feel better this week, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining me here on Frico Talks and News, including watching that last story go down in flames. Oh gosh, I can't believe I missed that. But that happens. How do you know what I usually do? Oh my gosh, I know what happened. Every time for the show, I go through the whole script thing, and I check things, and I didn't do it this time. I did not do it. I skipped that step. This is why you don't skip steps, folks. Your quality control steps, don't skip them like I did. I thought, well, because the last few times I found nothing. Everything was fine. So I got a little cocky. Don't do that. Never, ever do that. But anyway, thank you all for joining me. We will see you again tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. for Frico Talks the News. Already working on the stories for tomorrow. And I guess I'll finish up sometime later today. Have a good day.
Thank you for engaging with this material presented. As usual, remember your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman, nor did they permit you to subhumanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harm to anyone who hasn't directly harmed or threatened to harm others first, no matter how reprehensible we find your views.
We will see you in the next Frico Talks, where Frico attempts to talk about news without freaking out.
It's not